when we have multiple perspectives being added to solving a historical issue, either in systems or operations, we get a much better solution.
Any successful relationship starts with finding your center, the truth at the core of who you are. Only then can you develop the ability to truly connect with someone else. Concentric is about aligning with people who share a common center. This show gives you the tools and the skills to do just that through practical training, real-life stories and examples, and in-depth interviews with people who have taken this journey and come out the other side better for it. Welcome to Concentric. We're glad you're here. Today on the show, Gary and I walk through this idea of true collaboration in business within a company. Really getting the input of everyone in your organization at a level that makes them feel like they're being listened to, but also for the benefit of the company. Having these ideas brought to you as a business owner, as the CEO, that really help the business overall, can help efficiency, can help reduce turnover with employees. And there's an entire system around this that Gary walks into companies with and implements for them. And this is an exciting episode because, even for folks who are on board and like, yes, I would love to do something like that, where do I begin? Well, Gary walks you through that, exactly what he does for folks when he goes into an organization to help make this idea of collaboration, getting this input from your team, putting that all in place to make it a system within your company so that it's something that's happening on a regular basis. All right, let's jump in. Welcome to Concentric, everybody. Gary, how's it going?
It's going great. How are you, my friend?
Oh, just wonderful. Just wonderful. I know we're a little pressed for time today, so we're going to jump right into it for our sake and the sake of the listeners too. For this, I love this topic that you brought up today around just the power of collaboration in business. And I mean, that topic alone is huge and can go a lot of places, but specifically digging into as a business owner or, top of the chain, CEO, C-suite, getting that collaboration from everyone in the company, it's powerful. And I'm interested to dive into this because you just got through, helping an entire organization like go through this and get better at it. So you're fresh off of that, which I love. And I see so many parallels between that and our personal relationships as well. It's really interesting. So specifically dive into this when we're talking collaboration. What's really the importance of this, and how are you helping these companies do that?
Well, that's a topic near and dear to my heart because I really believe that when we have multiple perspectives being added to solving a historical issue, either in systems or operations, we get a much better solution. I ran a company for a large period of time when I was back in my 20s and 30s, and which was a while ago, I don't know. And we had about 100 employees, in a fleet of trucks and all that. And we were losing just a whole lot of money in equipment and truck repair costs. And it was costing us an arm and a leg. And I was like, I don't know how to resolve this. So I called all the staff together out in the warehouse and I said, we've got a problem. This is the facts of it, that there is so much money going out in these particular arenas. Perhaps it's about, better, day-to-day care of our equipment and our trucks. Maybe it's some other solution, but I don't have the answer. So I put everybody in pods of about 5. And they began to collaborate. I said, I want us to find a solution. And I had like, $7 an hour employees contributing to this. And they tackled it. And within a half hour, we had the solution. And of course, I didn't know what they were going to bring to the table, but what was voted upon and brought to the table to discuss with the leadership team was that what I didn't know is I had 5 small engine repair people on my team that were doing other tasks for the company. I had 3 mechanics on my teams that were doing other tasks for the company, not fixing the trucks, not repairing the small equipment. And I'm like, you mean I'm paying these guys $7 to $10 an hour? This was way back when, okay? So $7 to $10 an hour is pretty good pay then. And now it's like I'm paying these small equipment repair people $45 an hour. So obviously somewhere I'm making a mistake. So we brought everyone in-house. We created a small engine repair department and truck repair. We got everything on a rotation, and we saved about $10,000 a month in outgoing expenses by bringing in people that actually were there all along. But because I never asked and no one ever told me, they just stayed silent and did their job. So I looked at that, as I'm out consulting now, I looked at that one little event and I thought there were people at the lower ranks and files of my business that had the information, had the answer and the solution, but I never asked. And so I look at that.
And there wasn't a system in place either to counter the not asking, right? There wasn't a place they could go on a regular basis. Yeah.
And this is a point where pain pays for itself, because we generally don't seek outside our own box unless we have a pain point to go out and go, okay, I don't have the answer. I don't have the solution. We need to actually do some collaboration and see if there's anyone on our teams that actually has some insight that can add to that. So one of the aspects is thinking about co-creative iteration. Like, how do we create something that drives towards a solution that will solve this historical problem? One thing that I have discovered as I've done this in different organizations is that I take people through a 7 different perspective thinking strategy. We identify what the problems are, what the historical problems are. The whole team, and if it's a large company, we have representatives voted in to participate in representing their group. We put everyone into a room. We have everybody write up the historical problems as they see it, as it impacts their team. And then the whole organization, or the whole team at that time that's there for the problem solving, will actually vote until we identify the 3 top problems that we feel if those 3 were actually solved, that there would be this overall beneficial effect to the functionality of the company. So we get 3, then we vote down to 1, and we tackle the first one first, and then there's other sessions to tackle the other 2. And then I take them through a 7 perspective thinking strategy. And one of the perspectives is, gathering the facts. The next one is, what do we all emotionally feel about it? Or what are the risks? What are the positive possibilities? What are the creative processes that we can go through to generate ideas for the solution? Putting a cap on it and saying, okay, well, out of all the information we've gathered, this is the solution that we are proposing. And then the last one is looking at another risk assessment fundamentally to look at what the long-term effects are of that solution that's being proposed. What are the long-term effects of that solution? And are there any places where there's a blind spot that we need to actually do another iteration on the solution and be able to resolve that? Native American society oftentimes has said that do not make a decision about anything unless you analyze the effects of that decision 7 generations after you. If we did that, we would have a much different world than we have currently. So this is part of that process. Now it's a rather complex process that we go through to reach that final stage of the last, going out into the future process. But it is creative, it's involving, and it enrolls people to a point to where I've always been told this when I've done this in organizations. This is the best team building process we have ever done. Because what it does, it brings in the talent from all stratas of the organization. So at one level of the organization, they're going to see the effects of this historical problem very different than their managers are going to see it, or the executive team is going to see it. They're going to have a perspective that the executive team does not have, or the managerial team does not have. So to add all those perspectives into the solution, you get something that is so ecologically sound that it works far better than something that's designed at the top without a real understanding of the impact and ramifications at the lower stratas of the organization, that decision is going to impact those employees. So there's this one rule I think that's really beautiful, is that people do not tear down what they've been part of building. People become engaged in what they've built and what they've created. And one of the primary aspects that most companies face is a lack of engagement of their teams. Why? Because most organizations atrophy the creativity and the innovation, and they put a knife in the heart of this sort of entrepreneurialship, where we want our team members to be entrepreneurs inside our organizations, to come up with ideas about how to improve. But when you're making those decisions at the top, you fundamentally suffocate that entrepreneurship mindset that every organization needs to grow and to stay at the cutting edge of their field and stay competitive in the markets. So I'm a big fan of enrollment and therefore engagement, therefore the ability and the desire and the passion to keep improving through different levels of iteration of whatever the solution is until it works as seamlessly as possible.
I love that aspect of this as a team building. I never thought about that in those terms before either, because you think about a generic team building thing where, you go off in the woods and you come together and share your feelings or whatever. And that could be great, as a bonding experience or something. But when you have this event, like you just talked about, getting everyone in the room to solve a problem, not only is it better for the company, but it's tangible for those employees who are in there going through this, when, number one, they're being asked about it, right? They're actually, oh, you want my opinion? And then they see that implemented. Well, then the next time you ask for that employee's opinion, they believe you that you really want it, right? Because, they went and acted on it, or they acted on somebody's opinion in the room. They're really doing this. That's powerful.
Well, there's a fundamental human need that gets met by doing this process, because the fundamental human need is everyone wants to be seen, heard, understood, and respected. And so when someone is just the act of asking, we want your department to send a representative to this meeting because we want your department's perspective of how to resolve these particular operational or systematic issues that we're experiencing. Right from the get-go, you have shown a deep level of respect for that department's place in the overall execution of idea to product to customer or service to customer. So then you feel you establish that sense of connection, you establish that sense of respect, and then you're able to move the needle. A lot of companies go, well, I just don't know how to engage people. I have no idea. My teams are disengaged. Oh, it's the millennials, or it's the Gen Zs, or whatever the next scapegoat idea is. But actually, it never comes down to just that simplistic of an issue. our natures are complex by nature. And so we have to look at what are the fundamental human needs that organizations do not meet. And if you're not respected and you're not seen and you're not heard and you're not asked for your opinion and your input on a decision that's going to impact you on a daily basis, then how can you expect engagement when you haven't asked them to be part and parcel of the solution?
Oh, yeah.
It won't work. And so many companies, in my opinion, does it ass backwards. They don't look at what are the fundamental human needs that need to be met. Start there and then design systems that actually help innovate solutions, bring up the ideas, nosedive your people into co-creative iterations until they come to the solution that works and is worthy enough to be rolled out into operations. When we do that, we begin to start shifting the culture organically. And that, I think, is what we're all after. I know for myself, when I've been involved in companies, I've watched the faces of team members when they say, we're going to do a team building day. And they're like, yeah, we'll get a day off and we'll get to like go outside. But I am done playing games. I am done doing little exercises that it doesn't really impact me on a daily basis, that I need to have this, and this problem solved in order for me to have peace on the job. And no one's listening to me. So rather than torture your teams with more team building exercises, do something that's going to shift the impact of what they have to experience on a daily basis, listen to them, enroll them, and harvest their genius, and let them add and contribute to the solutions that impact the entire organization.
I hope you're enjoying this episode. If you want to take a deep dive into the concepts Gary is talking about here and so much more, I've got something for you. From time to time on the show, you may hear us talk about Gary's course, Creating Incredible Relationships. This course is the culmination of Gary's 35 years worth of seminars, one-on-one training, and transforming the lives of over 11,000 people on 4 different continents. To learn how to build alignment and heck, just get along with others sometimes, we all require skills that are not commonly known and are not out there in the relationship development space. We need help. That's why Gary put this course together. The content in it is powerful and comprehensive. But just like we've done with this show, it's put together in a way that's easily consumable and quickly implemented. To gain the ability to take every relationship you have or want to have to the next level, go to garyscourse.com and see how to get started. Now, back to the show.
They'll have insight that you will not.
Yeah, and this is, there's so many layers to this because, you talk about human needs and really starting there and all of that. Well, even the most selfish, I don't care about people, I'm focused on my business kind of person, what's great is that this is just going to help you. It's going to help the business. It helps everything. It's another one of those things, right? And when you talk about ideas, getting ideas, whether you're sitting down at a table and generating them, you're getting your team to do so. Ideas, your brain, it's a muscle, right? It's something that the more you do it, the better you get at it. So when this becomes a system like we've been talking about, we don't wait until, there's a big catastrophe going on or some giant horrible hole financially. And now we need to, I guess we'll ask everybody, when you make this a monthly, a quarterly system, well, then not only are you avoiding those pitfalls because you see something gets brought to your attention that you had no idea about way before it becomes a big, huge problem, but also everyone on all of these teams are in that routine, that they start shifting their mind that way to where even in between now, these monthly or quarterly sessions that you have, they're going, oh man, this is a potential problem. I'm going to tell somebody because they already know they're going to get listened to, but also they'll come with the creative solution for it. Even if it's not the best one, it's a solution, and more people will think that way.
Well, this is about training entrepreneurship in a very, very subtle, non-obvious way. If you start listening to people, asking them for their input, establishing as a cultural principle that we want solutions to be the most effective, cost effective, and streamlined organization that we can be, so that we can beat out our competition, we can offer our products at a lower cost, we can have more innovation and better product lines or service lines to begin to start moving forward and creating more of a success out of the organization. People run the business. They are the breath, the lifeblood, the oxygen of how an organization survives. If you establish this cultural principle of entrepreneurship into the ranks and files of your organization, you're going to have people, first of all, you'll attract the talent that will want to do that. And those that do not, sort of like those that are like, I'm going to show up, punch my time card and leave, they will eventually leave because you want to attract those individuals who want to contribute. So from every sort of angle of what is, the infestation of apathy in most organizations and companies, what we want to be able to do is do just the opposite. And this is about awakening people's passion to have them be endeared to the company, rather than feeling like I'm a cog in a machine, where people that don't understand my job or the impact their decisions have on me are finally listening to me, so that I do not have to suffer the indignity of doing things decided by people who don't understand, and therefore I feel like a slave. And when that gets dismantled and people are heard and people have a voice, and people see that their ideas got actualized into operations and systems, that's when you start turning around the culture. People say, we don't know how to turn around the culture. And I'm like, see people, hear people, respect people, ask them for their ideas, problem solve with them, harvest those ideas. If they're great ideas, collaboratively created, then put them into action, let everybody see that their ideas meant something and that it got into operations that then solves the problem that individual employee has been suffering from for years.
Yeah, and that's one of those goals that are out there that it's too big and vague. I'm going to improve my company culture. Well, no, that's an outcome. That's not a goal. Like, that's an outcome, like, of doing things like this. So you put something like this in place to get to that outcome over time. So
right. It's kind of a buzzword, improving culture. And I just, I won't say my hair catches on fire, but I get very, very annoyed, I'll say, by all the billions of dollars spent in cultural improvement programs, organizational change programs. And without this one factor in it, without this one factor as part of that strategy, it becomes short-lived, inconsistent, and definitely not deep enough. Now, through all this process, I've just given you a super high level. I mean, there's layers of different processes that you do to get to the end result here. But at the same time, we have to look at that this is, at a high level, the very beginning step, the philosophy of being able to do problem solving as a group. And we both know that, a company is not a democracy. It's more of a kind of a loosely held autocracy with a group of people at the top that make the final decisions based upon budget and forecasting and, all the things that a good organization is going to do. However, that group at the top needs great ideas from the bottom up. They need to see how every little ounce of the dysfunction of a particular process is impacting the teams. My business partner down in Australia, he's this Mensa guy. He's really quite amazing. He can go into an organization and look at a manufacturing plant and go, well, if you move this piece of equipment, 3 feet to the right and angle it to a 40-degree angle, you'll save like 5 minutes in travel time and walking from this station to the next station, which is going to save you this amount of money by the end of the year in time. And I look at him like, how do you figure that stuff out? But he does. He just sees it. Like I said, he's a Mensa guy. I always call him an alien because he's just so brilliant, But it's those type of small things that if people began to bring to the table, like, look, the equipment's even located in the wrong position. If we angled them this way, we would be able to save so much time on just travel time from one station to another station. There are ways to begin to start having solutions that the top is never going to see because they're not in the trenches doing the job. We have to begin to enroll all the stratas of our organization that are involved in producing our product or our service. When we do, we get other insights.
Yeah. So somebody's on board. They love it. This is great. How do we begin this process, right? I mean, certainly there's the intention. Hopefully we've brought that idea to someone and they're like, all right, I love it. I'm on board. What's step one for them?
Step one would, I always go in and do like a needs assessment. I want to meet the key players. I generally do a day of extreme ownership training. I want people to understand who the other players are that they're working with. So I generally go through an extended disc and I go through a Talasher MX assessment to just show the teams who they are as a team. And that means anybody participating in that particular process. Then we go through the 7 perspective thinking strategy. Encased in that is a process called the versatility principle. It's a process called co-creative iteration. It's a process called Shuva, which are all cultural improvement communication processes. Then we go into the 7 perspective thinking strategy. Then we get to alignment, and the alignment principle is a whole series of how we actually engage in voting which one that we all agree is going to be the best solution, and how we do that to get the majority into consensus. And it's like, again, a whole entire process that we go through. However, how that works is that we get people to become involved. We educate them on how to communicate in a way that it owns the solution and dives into how they are creating their individual own reality, so they have more respect for the differences around the table. And then we get them to consensus through a very, very, it's such a refined process of interpersonal communication that is the alignment process. When people get done with the entire system, which is about 3-4 days of training, but when they get done with it, they're like, we're changed. Like, we can never go back to how it was, because this gives us an entire system for how to solve problems in the most ecological and in the most respectful way for all the differences on our team. And when people understand that they can do that, then I think we have made a true cultural change, because how most people will show up is, look, here's all my evidence of why my idea is better than yours. And then they argue the points back and forth until you have more conflict, more resentment. And then when a solution finally is agreed to, there is a resistance because the individual who lost their particular pitch was never seen, never respected, and generally no aspect of their ideas were incorporated. So this is about avoiding all the power struggle and about getting to collaboration at the very deepest level. And whether you're a team of 3 or a team of 20, this works. In a marriage, this works, because one of the main issues that follows couples around is they have more power struggles than an organization does. This struggle between my way, your way, my way. You always get your way, or you shame me into this, or you intimidate me into that, or you have the power financially and I don't, and therefore my voice doesn't matter. Whatever it is that happens between a couple, this process actually gives a couple the fundamental tools to resolve problems in the most respectful, collaborative, and honorable way. It saves marriages. Because when I do couples coaching, this is exactly the process that I introduce to them. So we have to start looking at, our homes are like an ecology of a different type of culture. And it's the culture of our family, our children, our wives, our husbands. And it's as important of a culture as a culture that you spend 8 hours a day in the job you have. So, in fact, I personally think it's where you need to invest the most focus in being collaborative is within the home. And so when you learn these processes, it becomes very, very diplomatic to follow. And couples then end up having far more respect for one another and far less resentment for one another when they can do it collaboratively.
I love that. Yeah, that's powerful. Well, this is awesome. I know we've got to jump here. This has been huge. I would love to, in future episodes, kind of dive into some of those processes, of the 7 steps. And yeah, I think that'd be powerful for everybody. This right here has been hugely helpful. Just in shifting that idea of not only, company culture in getting to that place or improvement, but really the idea of collaboration, making that an integral system in your company that's strong.
Well, when you think about what most people at the top of their career and in a high level leadership position experience is they will have all this occurring in their business, which can be all encompassing. And when they come home, there's a whole nother set of issues that they have to deal with. Oftentimes, they do not have the bandwidth. And so as a consequence, what suffers is the culture of their home because they don't have any more bandwidth left. So to be able to teach a process, to learn a process that they can do not only in their work, but being able to resolve problems at home, that becomes an incredibly valuable tool and body of knowledge that they can use for the rest of their lives. And that's the intent for me, is this has been designed over a long period of time in my career. And I think it's really important to get it out there to as many people as possible.
Well, I'm so glad we're doing it. I'm glad you're doing it. This is good stuff. Jason, it's always a joy to see you, my brother. Likewise. And we'll see you all next time.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of Concentric. If you enjoyed this episode, we'd certainly like a great review from you on your favorite podcasting platform. But more than that, what really makes a difference to a show like ours is a recommendation to someone who would love this show like you do. Word of mouth referrals to your network and your podcast devouring friends is incredibly helpful to the growth of this show. For episode links and info, go to concentricshow.com. Thank you so much, and remember to keep building alignment to build a better life.